trillions of dollars to somebody. Now, I've been told, when I asked this question of Congressman Langevin, that it's planned to be paid for by a tax on the wealthy. So I'm going to follow up that with another question. And before I ask this question, I just want to make one little statement.
Sure.
Now, everyone seems to be under the impression that our country is a democracy. Our country is not a democracy. Our country is a republic.
That's right.
The reason we are a republic is to protect the rights of individuals against the rule of the mob. That being said, how can you justify taxing one group of citizens at a higher rate than another group of citizens to subsidize other people? I have no question that our health care system needs some kind of solution to fix it. But subsidies by taxpayers is unconstitutional. We're justifying taking money from one group of people who earned that money legally to give it to someone we deem who's more deserving of it. And that is not what our founding fathers intended. We are also approaching nearly $12 trillion in debt, which our founding fathers would have also found morally apprehensible.
Amen.
There are free market solutions to this healthcare problem that I don't see anybody considering. And if I have some attached here, if I can just give this to you.
Yes, you may.
So,
there we are.
my question that I would like someone to answer that I couldn't get answered last night is, how can you justify taxing these people to subsidize someone else? Where does the Constitution allow for this?
Okay, let me, 2 points in response to that. The first is that the graduated income tax and the notion that people who are in higher income tax brackets pay more than lower is one that has been approved over and over and over again by the courts up to and including the Supreme Court. So in terms of the constitutionality of that, I think that's pretty well established. In terms of whether it's fair,
I need to follow up on this because
in terms of whether it's fair, I think the way many people think of this, the way I think of this is, nobody knows when they're born exactly how life is going to turn out for them. But if everybody when they're born had the chance to make a choice about what kind of world they want to be born into, my suspicion is that they would want to be born into a world in which if they got some terrible debilitating disease, if there was some problem of some kind, if, you know, a train went through their house, who knows, terrible things happen to people. Other people get very lucky, they're very successful, they do very well, that there'd be some mechanism so that the people who do very well share, because you don't know going in whether you're going to be a winner in life or whether you're going to be a loser, and so you try to make it fair for everybody.
Life
isn't fair, but we do try to offset the injustices.
And there are others that apparently no one in this room has any faith in their fellow man. Well, no, because you're taking money at the point of a gun from people by force.
Right.
One question.
My next point, first of all, it's not unusual in this country to provide assistance to people.
That's right.
Like Medicare, which represents to many people a huge subsidy.
Which we were also forced to participate in with
no
no choice. No choice.
And it's bankrupt.
Yeah. Who's going to turn down Medicare right now? Let me get back to the question.
Well, if you weren't taking the money from us in the first place, allowing us to be responsible for ourselves, then perhaps we wouldn't need the Medicare, the Social Security, and all these other socialistic programs that we let slide in while we were asleep.
They're bankrupt.
I want to respond. First of all, Social Security was adopted in 1935.
And I wasn't born for like
We're going to pay trust funds, which is quite different than what has happened in the last 8 years. Medicare Part B was approved by the Bush administration, no plan to pay for it. We are going to pay for it. Now, the first tranche of money is about $235 billion over 10 years, which has been essentially concessions from hospital associations, pharmaceutical companies. In fact, the plan is to close at least half the donut hole in Medicare Part D. And then other provisions. That's 235. As Sheldon pointed out, there are ways in which we not only can but must save money. It's estimated there's about $70 billion a year in the Medicaid system, for example, and Florida abuse. We're beginning to tackle that very aggressively. The legislation has even more tools for federal authorities to go after those who are abusing the system. So that's going to help. The preventive care that Sheldon talked about is going to help also. I mean, here's one of the dilemmas. You know, people, regardless of how you feel about Medicare, at 65, many people, that's the first real health care they've gotten.
Yes.
And they've had serious problems for years. And guess why it's expensive for Medicare? When you take someone who has already been living for 30 years with serious problems and no real treatment, their costs are much greater. Part of this is actually trying to stabilize our budget. Now, I told you that, if our health care costs are going to go up to $4.4 trillion by 2018 if we do nothing, if we allow just the same status quo. And part of what we're trying to do is literally bend that curve. And it's a combination of providing access, it's a combination of providing affordability, and it's something that, frankly, has more economic, will have more economic impact on our country than anything else we do. It's not just about helping people who need help. It's about making sure we have an economy that will be productive and thriving as we go forward.
It's not working now.